All right, so manifestation, um, you know, attracting what you want, aligning thoughts and energy with the universe, all that.
Oh, right.
Today we're diving into a book called Manifestation Spells, Harnessing Magic for Abundance, Love, and Protection.
Okay.
And we're going to see how spells can, well, be used to try and attract what you want. Money, love, even protection from negative energy.
Sounds fascinating.
I think so.
Yeah.
And, I've always been curious about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, me too.
The book talks about using cinnamon for money magic.
Oh, interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah,
So we'll have to get into that.
definitely.
But first, I guess we should maybe talk about the basics,
Yeah.
like how these spells actually work.
Okay, sure.
So the book lays out 3 key ingredients for successful manifestation.
Okay.
It calls them clarity of intent,
Mm-hmm.
energy and visualization,
Okay.
and correspondences and timing.
Gotcha.
So starting with that first one, clarity of intent. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's kind of like, when you're setting a destination in your GPS,
Right.
if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to end up driving around in circles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the book says it's really important to be super specific about what you want to manifest. You can't just be like, I want to be rich.
Yeah.
You have to, define what that actually looks like for you.
Right.
Like how much money you want to have, what you're going to do with it.
So it's about getting clear on the details.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of just saying, I want to be rich,
Mm-hmm.
you might say, I am attracting $10,000 into my bank account within the next month.
Okay.
Or, I am manifesting a successful business that brings me joy and financial abundance.
So you're basically stating your intention as if it's already happening.
Right. And that helps to shift your energy and make you more receptive to opportunities.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So once you have that clear intention, then comes the energy and visualization part.
Yeah.
What does that involve?
Well, this is where you start to really feel the emotions of your desire.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to manifest more money,
Right.
you might visualize yourself holding a stack of cash
Okay.
or, buying your dream house or whatever it is that you want. And as you're visualizing it,
Mm-hmm.
really try to feel the excitement, the joy, the gratitude, like it's already happened.
So you're not just seeing it in your mind.
Right.
You're actually feeling it.
Exactly. You want to engage all of your senses to make the visualization as real as possible.
Okay, so it's about making it a multi-sensory experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Now this next element, correspondences and timing.
Yes,
This is where it gets a little bit more mystical for me.
I understand.
So we're talking about like crystals and herbs,
Mhm.
moon phases even.
Yeah, all of that.
So how do those things play into manifestation?
Well, they all carry specific energies that can enhance your intention.
Okay.
Like, for example,
Hmm.
let's say you are doing a spell to attract money.
Mm-hmm.
You might use a green candle because green is associated with wealth and prosperity.
Right.
And you might incorporate cinnamon.
Ah, yes. The sizzling.
Which, yeah, it has a long history of being used in money magic.
So it's not just because it smells good.
No, not at all. It actually has a symbolic meaning.
So you're basically creating this kind of like energetic recipe for change.
Exactly. You're combining your clear intention, your powerful emotions, and then these symbolic elements to amplify your manifestation power.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say you're ready to start putting this into practice.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the specific spells that the book recommends?
Well, we already talked about the cinnamon money attraction spell,
Right.
which is a popular one.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by that one.
Yeah. And there's also a bay leaf wish spell that's specifically designed for manifesting money.
Okay, and how do those spells work?
So let's start with the cinnamon money attraction spell. It's actually a pretty simple spell. You need a few ingredients, a green candle, some cinnamon powder, and either a coin or a citrine crystal.
Okay, so green candle, cinnamon powder, coin, or a citrine crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do with all of that?
So first, you light the green candle.
Okay.
And you focus on your intention for financial success.
Right.
Then you hold the coin or the citrine crystal in your hand, and you visualize money flowing into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sprinkle the cinnamon powder around the candle.
Okay.
While you're doing that, you're reciting an incantation.
An incantation, like a magic spell.
Yeah, basically. It's just a way to verbally express your intention and to kind of like give the spell an extra boost of power.
So are there like specific words that you have to say?
Not necessarily. You can find some examples in the book,
Okay.
but you can also create your own.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The important thing is to really feel the words as you're saying them.
Gotcha. So you sprinkle the cinnamon,
Yep.
you say your incantation, and that's it.
Well, almost. The book also suggests blowing cinnamon powder across your front door every month.
Across your front door.
Yeah. It's kind of like inviting prosperity into your home.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for the bay leaf wish spell, it's a little bit different. You start by writing your specific financial goal on a bay leaf.
Okay.
Like, I am manifesting a $5,000 raise, something like that. And then you hold the bay leaf in your hand and you visualize yourself achieving that goal.
Okay.
And then you burn the bay leaf.
You burn it.
Yeah. And as it's burning, you release your intention to the universe.
Wow, that's pretty powerful imagery.
It is.
I like that.
Yeah.
So when would you do this bay leaf spell? Like, is it something you could do anytime you need a financial boost?
Yeah, you could. Or you could do it before a big financial event.
Okay.
Like a job interview.
Right.
Or, if you're starting a new business.
So you're basically using these spells as a way to align your energy with your goals.
Exactly. And to kind of give yourself an extra edge.
Okay. So we've talked about attracting wealth.
Yeah.
Now what about attracting love?
Ah, yes. Love.
But I'm assuming our source has some spells for that too.
Of course. Lots of them, actually. Whether you're looking to attract a new love or strengthen an existing relationship,
Okay.
or even just to deepen your own sense of self-love, the book has a spell for pretty much everything.
All right, well, let's get into it then.
Okay.
What are some of the love spells that stood out to you?
Well, there's one called the Honey Jar Love Spell.
Honey jar love spell.
And then there's the Rose Quartz Attraction Ritual.
Okay, those sound intriguing.
Yeah, they're both really popular ones, and they use some pretty interesting ingredients and techniques.
Okay, well, let's start with that honey jar love spell. I'm curious about that one.
Okay, so for this spell, you need a jar,
Okay, it's a jar.
some honey,
Honey. Okay.
a piece of paper, and a red pen.
Red pen. Okay.
Some rose petals and cinnamon.
Rose petals and cinnamon. So we're bringing back the cinnamon.
Yes. Cinnamon is often used in love spells, too.
Okay.
And then you need a candle and some matches.
All right. So we've got our ingredients. What do we do with them?
So the first step is to write your name and the name of the person you want to attract on the piece of paper.
Okay.
And if you're not focused on a specific person, you can just write, my soulmate.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you write the names on the paper. Then what?
Then you fold the paper and you put it in the jar,
Okay.
along with the rose petals and the cinnamon.
Right.
And then you fill the jar with honey.
So you're basically creating this kind of sweet love potion.
Yeah, exactly. And as you're doing this, you want to be visualizing yourself with this person,
Okay.
happy and in love.
Gotcha.
Really feeling those emotions of joy and connection.
So you fill the jar with honey. You've got the names in there, the rose petals, the cinnamon.
Yeah.
What's next?
So then you light the candle and you let a few drops of wax drip onto the lid of the jar.
Okay.
And then you seal the jar with the lid.
So you're kind of like locking in that love energy.
Exactly. And you put the jar somewhere safe where it won't be disturbed.
Okay. And is that it?
Well, the book suggests shaking the jar every now and then to keep the energy moving.
Oh, okay. So you kind of like give it a little shake.
Yeah. Just to remind the universe of your intention.
That's interesting. Now, what about that rose quartz attraction ritual? How does that one work?
So for this one, you need a piece of rose quartz,
Okay.
a pink candle,
Okay.
and some jasmine or rose oil,
Okay.
and a mirror.
Gotcha. So rose quartz, pink candle, oil, and a mirror.
So first, you hold the rose quartz in your hand and you close your eyes. And you visualize yourself surrounded by love and acceptance.
Okay.
Feeling confident and beautiful.
Okay.
And then you open your eyes and you light the pink candle.
Okay.
And you put a few drops of the oil on your wrists. And then you look at yourself in the mirror.
Okay.
And you say an affirmation that reinforces your self-love and your belief in your own attractiveness.
So something like, I am worthy of love.
Exactly. Or, I am beautiful and attractive.
So it's about really believing in yourself.
Yeah. And about radiating that confidence and self-love out into the world.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about spells for attracting wealth and love. But what about protection? Does the book have any spells for that?
Of course. Protection is just as important as attracting positive energy.
Right.
You want to make sure you're shielding yourself from any negative influences.
Absolutely. So what kind of protection spells are we talking about?
Well, there's the black salt protection circle, which is a really popular one.
Black salt.
Yeah. Black salt is often used in protection magic.
Okay.
And then there's the egg cleansing ritual, which is a bit more involved.
All right. I'm intrigued. Let me break those down.
Okay, so the black salt protection circle, you need black salt,
Okay.
a black candle,
Okay.
and a protective stone, like obsidian or hematite.
Obsidian or hematite. Gotcha.
So you start by sprinkling the black salt in a circle around your home.
Around your whole home.
Yeah. Or you can just do it around a specific area that you want to protect.
Okay, so like your bedroom.
Right. And as you're sprinkling the salt,
Mm-hmm.
you're visualizing a protective barrier forming around you,
Right.
blocking out any negative energy.
Gotcha.
And then you light the black candle,
Mm-hmm.
and you hold the protective stone in your hand,
Okay.
and you say an incantation to activate the circle.
So you're basically creating this kind of like energetic shield around your space.
Exactly. And it helps to keep out negativity, unwanted spirits,
Right.
anything that could potentially harm you.
Okay. Now, what about that egg cleansing ritual? You said that one's a bit more involved.
Yeah, a little bit. You need a raw egg,
Okay, raw
a
egg.
glass of water,
Got it.
and some salt.
Okay, so a raw egg, a glass of water, and some salt
So you start by gently rolling the egg over your body.
over your whole body.
Yeah, from head to toe. And as you're doing this, you're visualizing the egg absorbing any negative energy that you might be carrying.
Okay, so the egg is like sucking up all the bad vibes.
Exactly. And then once you've rolled the egg all over your body,
Mm-hmm.
you crack it open into the glass of water.
Okay,
And you look at the formations that appear in the water.
the formation.
Yeah, like, if there are any bubbles or strange shapes.
Okay,
Or if the yolk is cloudy or anything like that.
so you're looking for any kind of like unusual patterns.
Right. It's kind of like a form of divination.
Interesting. So what do those patterns mean?
Well, they can give you some insights into the nature of the negativity that you're dealing with.
Okay.
Like, if the egg white is all stringy and cloudy, it
Mm.
might indicate that there's some kind of, emotional baggage that you need to release.
Okay, so the egg is kind of like revealing the hidden energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you crack the egg into the water, you look for any weird patterns, then what?
Then you take the glass of water outside and you dispose of it,
Okay.
preferably in running water, like a river or a stream.
So you're basically flushing away the negativity.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Well, the book also suggests sprinkling salt around your body
Okay.
and around your home.
So you're kind of like creating a protective barrier with the salt.
Right. Just to make sure that the negativity doesn't come back.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about specific spells for attracting wealth, love, and protection.
Hmm.
But are there any like general tips that we should keep in mind when we're doing any kind of spell work?
Yeah, definitely. The book has a whole section on that.
Okay, well, let's hear it. What are some of the key takeaways?
Well, one of the most important things is to always phrase your intentions in the present tense. So instead of saying, I will be wealthy, you would say, I am attracting wealth into my life.
So it's about acting as if it's already happening.
Exactly. And it helps to program your subconscious mind to believe that it's true.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And another important tip is to use daily affirmations.
Affirmations.
Yeah. Those are just positive statements that you repeat to yourself
Okay.
to reinforce your beliefs and your intentions.
Like, I am abundant.
Exactly. Or, I am worthy of love, or I am protected from harm.
So you're basically feeding your mind positive thoughts.
Right.
And that helps to attract positive experiences.
Exactly. And another tip is to be mindful of the moon phases.
Oh, yeah, the moon phases. We
Yeah.
talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So how do those play into spell work?
Well, the moon goes through different phases throughout the month,
Right.
and each phase has its own unique energy.
Okay.
So, for example, the new moon is a good time for setting intentions and starting new projects. And the waxing moon is a good time for attracting things into your life.
Like money and love.
Exactly. And the full moon is a time of culmination.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good time for charging your spells and releasing anything that's no longer serving you.
Okay.
And then the waning moon is a good time for banishing negative energy and letting go of the past.
So you're basically syncing your spells up with the natural rhythms of the universe.
Yeah. Exactly. It's about working with the energy that's already there.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we've got our intentions phrased in the present tense. We're using our daily affirmations.
Yeah.
We're paying attention to the moon phases.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, one of the most important things,
Yeah.
and this is something that the book really emphasizes,
Okay.
is that you have to trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Manifestation takes time. It's not always going to happen overnight.
Right.
So you have to be patient,
Okay.
and you have to trust that the universe is working in your favor.
So it's not just about doing the spell. It's about having faith that it's going to work.
Exactly.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the basics of manifestation. We've gone over some specific spells,
Yes.
and we've got some general tips to keep in mind. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Good.
Ready to start manifesting some magic in my own life.
Excellent.
All right, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think the next step is to start experimenting.
Okay.
Try out some of these spells, see what works for you.
Right.
And don't be afraid to get creative.
Okay, so come up with my own spells.
Exactly. The book is just a starting point.
Okay.
There's really no limit to what you can manifest when you tap into your own power.
Wow, that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited to see what I can create.
Me too.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into manifestation magic, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Yeah.
What desires are you ready to manifest in your life?
And do you think timing your spell work with the moon phases could actually make a difference?
Have you noticed anything like that in your own experience? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
So leave us a comment and tell us what you think. Until next time, keep those intentions clear, your energy high, and your hearts open to the magic that's all around us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got attracting wealth down.
We do.
But what about attracting love?
Yeah.
One spell really jumped out at me.
Okay.
It's called the honey jar love spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into it already.
A good one.
Honey to sweeten up your love life.
Makes sense.
It does.
It uses a honey to attract sweetness and connection.
Yeah.
It's very symbolic.
Yeah, but how does it actually work?
Okay, so you write your name and the name of the person you want to attract on a piece of paper
Okay.
with a red pen.
Red. Okay.
And if you're not focusing on a specific person, you can just write, my soulmate.
Gotcha.
You put the paper in a jar, along with some rose petals and cinnamon, and then you fill the jar with honey
Okay.
and seal it with candle wax.
So it's like a love potion.
It is, kind of.
I like it.
And the jar,
Yeah.
it acts as a container for your intention,
Okay.
a vessel to amplify your desire.
And what about the candle wax?
Oh,
Why do we seal it?
You're creating a bond, symbolically,
Gotcha.
and you're locking in the energy,
Oh.
that loving energy,
That makes sense.
and you put the jar somewhere safe.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've also heard that you're supposed to shake the jar every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
The book mentions that, yeah.
To keep the energy moving.
Exactly, just to kind of re-energize the spell.
Okay, that makes
To
sense.
keep things flowing.
So what if you're not looking to attract a specific person? What if you're just trying to work on yourself?
Yeah.
Cultivate self-love.
That's where the rose quartz attraction ritual comes in.
Okay, rose quartz, I'm listening.
Rose quartz is often associated with unconditional love. It's a really gentle energy.
It is. I love rose quartz.
And you use it to boost your self-worth and attract love from a place of inner strength.
Okay, I like that.
So for this ritual, you need a piece of rose quartz, a pink candle, and some jasmine or rose oil.
And a mirror.
Oh, right.
You can't forget the mirror.
You hold the rose quartz and visualize being surrounded by love,
Okay.
feeling confident, beautiful. Then you light the candle, put some oil on your wrists,
Gotcha.
look in the mirror, and say an affirmation.
Like, I am worthy of love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, I am beautiful.
I love that.
It helps shift your energy.
It does.
And it helps you attract love from a place of self-assurance.
So we're working on ourselves first.
Yes.
Then we go out and find love.
Exactly. It's about aligning your inner world with your outer desires.
I like that.
So we've talked about attracting positive energy, but what about protecting ourselves from negativity? Creating a safe space for those intentions?
I'm all about that. Tell me more.
That's where protection spells come in.
Like an energy shield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sign me up. So one of the methods is the black salt protection circle.
Black
Or-
salt to protect yourself.
It's really good for creating a barrier around your home.
Okay.
It's absorbent negativity.
Gotcha.
So you sprinkle black salt around your home
Okay.
or a specific area.
Okay.
And as you're doing that, you're visualizing a protective shield.
Blocking out the bad stuff.
Exactly. Then you light a black candle,
Okay.
and you hold a protective stone like obsidian or hematite.
Those are good for protection.
They are.
I use them all the time.
And you recite an incantation to activate the circle.
So you're using multiple layers of protection.
Yeah.
Physical and energetic.
Exactly.
All that.
For personal protection, there's also the egg cleansing ritual.
I've heard of that one.
It's also known as ovomancy.
Fancy.
It removes spiritual blockages and negative attachments from the body.
Okay, I'm a little intimidated by that one.
It's not that bad, actually.
Okay.
It can be emotionally powerful, though. So you take a raw egg and you gently roll it over your body.
Head to toe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the egg absorbs any negative energy.
Like an energy sponge.
Exactly.
And what do you do with the egg after?
You crack it into a glass of water.
Okay.
And you look at the formations.
What kind of formations?
Like shapes, colors, patterns, anything unusual.
Oh, wow.
It shows you the nature of the negativity.
Interesting.
It's like a visual representation.
And then what?
You dispose of the egg water outside.
Okay.
Preferably in running water.
To get rid of the negativity.
Exactly. Symbolically flushing it away.
I like that.
And then you sprinkle salt around your body and home.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, to purify your energy field.
It's amazing how these rituals use everyday ingredients.
It is.
Eggs, salt, honey.
It makes magic feel more accessible.
It does.
It shows that magic is all around us.
Right, it demystifies it a little.
Yeah.
But there are also some general tips to make spell work more effective.
Absolutely.
Like what?
Well, remember to phrase your intentions in the present tense.
Right, like it's already happening.
Exactly.
We talked about that.
And use daily affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind.
I need to work on that one.
It takes time, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And align your spell work with the moon phases.
Oh, yeah, the moon.
It's a powerful force.
It is. Tell me more about how to work with the moon phases.
Okay, so the new moon. It's a time for new beginnings.
Like a fresh start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting intentions, planting seeds.
Gotcha.
Then there's the waxing moon.
Okay.
When the moon's light is growing.
Yeah.
That's a good time for growth and attraction spells.
Okay, so if you're trying to bring something into your life.
Exactly. The full moon.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful time. Manifestation, celebration, charging your spells.
It's like the climax.
It is.
Everything's amplified.
Exactly. And then the waning moon. That's for releasing, banishing, letting go.
Okay, like a detox.
Yes, exactly.
So we're working with the natural cycles.
Yes. Aligning our actions with the moon's energy.
I love that.
It's all about timing.
It is. And most importantly,
yes,
we need to trust the process.
We do.
Manifestation takes time.
It does.
You can't expect overnight results.
Right.
You have to be patient.
Patience is key.
It is.
And to trust that the universe is working its magic.
I think that's a great note to end on.
I agree.
Patience and trust.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, planting a seed. You can't just expect it to sprout up overnight.
Right. You have to nurture it.
Exactly.
A bit time.
And speaking of nurturing.
Yeah.
What about gratitude?
Oh, gratitude's huge.
Yeah.
It's like super important.
How so?
Well, when you focus on what you're grateful for, it raises your vibration.
Okay.
And that attracts more abundance.
Makes sense.
It's like a magnet.
Yeah.
The more you appreciate what you have, the more you'll receive.
So even before your desire actually manifests, you can start feeling grateful for it.
Exactly. Like it's already happened.
Okay, that's powerful.
It is.
This has been so insightful.
I'm glad you think so.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
From the basics to specific spells and even those universal tips.
For sure.
What would you say is the most important takeaway?
That magic is accessible to everyone. It's not about having some supernatural power. It's about harnessing your own energy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions.
Exactly.
These spells, they're just tools.
Okay.
They give you a framework, but the real power comes from within.
I love that.
You have the ability to create your own reality.
It's empowering.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into manifestation spells, I have one final question.
Okay.
What desires are you ready to manifest in your life?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What are you ready to attract, to create, to bring into being?
And think about the timing, too.
Right.
Do you think working with the moon phases could make a difference?
What have you noticed in your own experiences?
We want to hear from you.
Leave us a comment.
Share your thoughts.
Tell us about your journey with manifestation.
Until next time.
Keep those intentions clear, your energy high.
Absolutely.
And your hearts open to the magic that's all around.